Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new here. Welcome to those of you who are seasoned veterans of what we do around here. What we do around here is bring about conversations of a psychological, mental health, emotional health paradigm. We usually do that several times per week. We get over 1,200 of these available for your listening pleasure in variety of topics, and we continue to add whenever the time allows. We continue to do that for your listening pleasure, and we continue to be helpful. At least I hope. Anyway, so if you're looking for things that may cause you to stay single, this is a two-part series in that vein. And so if you are looking for relationship coaching to make relationships better for yourself in the new year, would love to be of a benefit to you in that way. And so a couple of ways you can reach out: at PO Perception on Twitter and or in the About Me section of this YouTube page. Either one will get you in contact with me or a member of my team. We can make something happen from there. So things that may cause you to stay single longer than you intend is first is fear. So fear of rejection and fear of being tied down can be kind of opposing forces in a negative way. So that fear can ultimately lead you to make decisions that aren't necessarily the healthiest for you, aren't necessarily good for you, and ultimately lead you in a direction that isn't going to serve you well. When you begin to understand the value of knowing what you fear when it comes to relationships, and then you're able to articulate them properly for potential new partners, that person can then assess whether or not they're willing to deal with whatever those challenges within you emotionally are. And if they're not, they can walk away rather than have resentment towards you. One of my better friends just walked away from about a year and a half, almost a little bit more than that, relationship because they realized that life was going in two different directions for them and their partner, and they mutually agreed to stay friends, but that they didn't have the same life goals as when they started the relationship. And so the realization of that allowed them to step away in friendship rather than negativity. The next is trust. Trusting is the single most important thing in relationships when it relates to making long-term decisions that lead somewhere meaningful. If you don't have trust in a relationship, you really don't have a relationship. What you have then is an exchange. And so when you begin to understand that trust is at the center of any relational experience that you may need to have, want to have, or benefit you to have, it's certainly important to continue to look for ways to develop a core of trust that's mutually beneficial, where both parties feel that they have their autonomy and ultimately still are building a bond where they count on the other person to be of benefit, help, and value. The next thing is the fear of loss of independence. So when a person gets into a relationship, especially if they've been in a toxic or abusive relationship previously, they will fear that the other person will take too much of their time, too much of their individuality, too much of their self-expression, or other forces in that way. And so talking through what it looks like to remain interdependent, which is actually the healthy way to do relationships. Interdependency is the idea that there are some things I need you for. There are many things I can do on my own. I will come to you if I need something, but other than that, allow me to be my own person and maintain my own autonomy. That's an interdependency that will allow a relationship to forge forward in a healthy way. The next thing is to begin to understand that forgiveness is necessary. Forgiveness on both sides of the equation of the relationship. So forgiveness of self is just as valuable as forgiving the other person for their unfriendly behaviors and or things that are uncomfortable or just not necessarily good or healthy. When we begin to understand the need to forgive, we also then begin to understand the patterns of unforgiveness that we have within ourselves, or the patterns of negative behavior we have within ourselves, which may ultimately be causing us to behave in a manner which sabotages our desire for a relationship. And when we begin to understand those, going into a coaching relationship can be super helpful, because at the end of the day, when we break the patterns and or understand at the very least how to break the patterns, we're then giving ourselves a better chance at being able to have healthy, meaningful, and mastered relationships. But when we don't understand how to do that, we then become super angry and ultimately uncomfortable and in unhealthy places. So hopefully this is helpful. I encourage you to keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.